Okay, so this lecture is about exercise 4.11. So correlation and coefficient, right? The main topic of chapter 4 is basically correlation coefficient, right? I mean, how to implement in this, how to calculate this R value, right? Using the Python. So basically, this is a formula for the correlation coefficient R, right? The correlation coefficient is a statistical measure, right, of the strength of the linear relationship between the two variables. So for example, in this formula in X and Y, since this is not a stat course, I'm going to skip how to calculate this R value using this formula, right? But basically, interpreting R is important when it's positive. R is a positive and close to +1. It indicates a strong positive correlations, right? And if it's negative, then if it's close to -1, it indicates strong negative correlations. In the range of the R is between -1 and 1, right? If R is a 0, then means there's no correlations, right? There's no linear correlations between two variables X and Y. This is a good example, right? When the X and Y, right? If R value is 0.9, which is close to 1, that means this indicates what? Strong positive correlations between X and Y. So X increase, Y increase. And the second diagram is when R is close to 0, that means there is no correlations between variable X and variable Y, right? When R value is close to -1, then it's going to be the opposite, right? Then, for example, if it's negative -1, it's close to negative -1, right? Then you will have, something like this, right? Something like this scatter diagram, okay? So you know that this is what? This is the scattered diagram, right? Okay, so this is the negative correlations, right? This is close to -1, and obviously this is what? Close to +1, right? Okay, so this is 0. Okay, so, and let's just read the problem, okay? The problem says that step number 1, you need to input the data, right? This data, the car data, that CSV file, please read, right? And the step number 2 is basically create correlation coefficient matrix, right? So that's the step number 2, right? So it's this, it's very straightforward, right? The code is going to be very short. First, let me just show my, let's see, okay, show my code. First, you have to mount to your Google Drive, as usual, and import Panda and NumPy, right? And then you read this car data.csv file, right? Okay, so MPG, cylinder, engine size, horsepower, V weight, accelerations, right? And then let's just describe, let's look at the statistical value for all these variables, these attributes. Okay, and then the most important thing is you have to use this correlation functions, right, to create correlations coefficient matrix. So, and this car is a data frame, right? So basically data frame has a method called correlations. Okay, so and then I store all those results in this variable, car correl. Actually, the problem said you have to label as a car correlations, but just variable name. So I'm going to use cars correl instead of the cars correlations. Okay, but it's just variable. Okay. Now, if you want to, get the values in 3 decimal, right? So I think it's, yeah, the rounding this coefficients to the 3 decimal places. If this is something that you want, then you can use the round functions, right? I mean, it's okay. And then, so that's it. But I would like to add one more thing. I would like to, represent this correlation in a coefficient matrix using a heat map. Okay, this is a very popular way. Right? This is something I recommend. So for that, for the visualizations, you need to import matplot libraries and Seaborn. Okay, these are 2 most popular Python packages for the visualizations, right? And then for the SNS, right? The seaborne provide heat map method, right? And for the data, you have to use this Correl, right? Correlation coefficient matrix, right? And then for the annotations, I say true, right? And then it's PLT show. Okay, so this is a heat map, as you can see. This is like visually appealing, right? This is something that I want to use every time you use a correlation matrix. If you need to create correlation in the matrix, heat map please use a heat map. I highly recommend use heat map. Okay, so yes. And then another thing is that if you want to just Spearman the correlation method instead of using this Pearson, right? The Pearson by default, when you use the Correl functions, they use Pearson. But if you want to use a Spearman, you have to say method is equal to Spearman, okay? And then you can use correlation method. Yes. Okay, so this is the another thing that you should know to solve, I think, 1 or 2 exercise problems in sections 4.11. Okay. In next lecture, I'm gonna analyze this correlation comatrix in more details. Okay. Thank you. So please watch my next lecture video. Okay. Thank you.